Okay, so torn into it. Torn, I use the word lightly. I loosened the power supply board. When I was removing these little push pins, all right, as you can see, they're kind of like the what hold your fenders and bumpers on your car in place, but they're very small. Two of them holding it in place. And I noticed the speaker protection board was just floating around in there. So whoever was in here never replaced the push pin compression. All right, so that was one thing I noticed. First thing. Second was this wire was just kind of sitting back in here. All right, so I started looking through, and I always inspect the solder joints and see what's been messed with, and most of these have been messed with at some point. I know what this guy did. Whoever was in here last had the power supply card out, and it was just blown in the air. And you twist these back and forth a few times, bend them back and forth, and they break. All right, these are very brittle. They're not meant to flex back and forth. So I've begun labeling all of these, but this one was a mystery. So I followed it up, and it went up to the EQ filter assembly, all right, which is AWF031, pin 2. You find the pin 32, pin 2 on the AWF031, and it goes down to the AWG60, right? Now, looking at the schematics here, on pin 2, we should have a negative 32 volt, all right? This is the wire that was loose. So we go down to the flat amp, which is the AWG060. We find pin 21, all right, and it confirms that it should go to AWF031, pin 2. To confirm, pin 2 on, again, pin 21 on the flat amp amplifier assembly is a negative 32 volts. Pin 21 is right here, and there's no missing wire. There's no evidence of a snapped wire. All right, it looks like that has never been tampered with. So why was this tucked down in there? Upon further inspection, on the AWR157, pin 20, let's see here, let's see if I can read this. Pin 21 was missing a wire altogether. I don't know if you can see that. All right, pin 21 was missing a wire. So we look at the power supply. Pin 21 should theoretically go up to AWM119, which it does not. All right. What we look at pin 19 or pin 21 on the AWR157 is it indeed has a negative 32 volt power source. So this is where schematics and what they did at the factory are two different animals. And where it's broke off here is an original wire wrap. You can see right there. Right. Nobody's messed with that one per se. There's no solder. That was factory. And so in the factory, they were looking for a 32 volt source. And instead of the flat amp, they went to the power supply, which makes sense. But this is where things get really confusing if you're just cutting away wires and you're getting into it and you think you're going to use the schematics to get everything back into place. These are not always accurate. These are a reference. And I'm sure there's an addendum somewhere floating around for these, but I don't have it. So we're going to take it slow and steady, and we'll press on here. So mystery solved. But this is the fun stuff. Some other stuff I've noticed in here. This is kind of a can of worms here. Looked good on the outside, not so good on the inside. That's your speaker protection relay. All right. And it is just blown in the wind in there. There's no cover on it. There should be a black cover. All right, just like most relays have. Typically it has a little magnet taped to the side to prevent arc. So this speaker protection has, when these open and close, they typically arc. And that magnet prevents the arc from happening so it doesn't scar the contacts and interfere with continuity. Continuity, excuse me. Whoever was in here last never bothered to put the cover back on. They never bothered to adhere a magnet. And yeah, I mean, it shows there's a lot of just messy, bad solder. And, these wires were a rat's nest. Nobody ever wire wrapped them or zip tied them after they've been in here. So this is going to be a fun project. It's a good thing I enjoy this, because this is the stuff that gets real expensive when you're paying a tech to do it. Techs, they make a living doing this, and they're going to charge you. So if you can do this for fun, it saves you a lot of money.